Good morning. Let's make sure the audio is good. Everybody who's joining, let me know if the audio is good. Today we got a wonderful topic, dogs and kids. This was suggested. We went on our Instagram yesterday. Julie did. She went on the stories and she suggested some topics. And we got a lot of topics. So we're going to definitely be going over all of them. But to get to all of them, we actually might have to do a live tomorrow where Julie's with me asking the questions, and we kind of do a shorter format for the answers just to get everybody in, okay? Thank you so much for letting me know, Mark. Loud and clear. Awesome. We're good to go. Again, today we're talking about one of the topics that is just great. It was one of the first ones we got, dogs and kids. How do we make this thing work? Because everybody's, a lot of people are going to have to deal with dogs and kids together. And they're hard enough separately, but you're living with them together. Today we're going to learn a lot. I'm going to keep it easy for you guys to learn how to be living with your dog and your kid together. Good morning. It's Thursday, guys. We made it through half the week, so that's something right there. So dogs and kids. I'm gonna prolong for just a second more to let people join, but I got some stuff for you. I got some good stuff. As you know, we have a toddler who is going to be 2. Jesse's going to be 2 on Monday, and so we're celebrating his birthday on Saturday. It's going to be fun. And you know that we have Riggins and all these dogs here. How do we do it, and how do we send our clients home doing it so that everybody can live a good life? All right. Looks like we got a lot of people joined in here. We're going to talk about it. So stay with me. I'm going to go and give you my little thing, and then I'll get back to the comments, okay? When you have dogs and kids, you can't get around using the word that goes around a lot, which is management, okay? It really does come down to management, but I know that when I was told, well, you need to manage them, I'm like, okay, I need to manage them. That makes sense. What does that mean, right? And then, so what I'm going to try to do is to show you how to manage a dog and a kid so that it's pretty easy, okay? Basically, before I teach you how to manage your dog, there is a couple things you're going to have to know. You're going to have to make sure that your dog can understand what you're saying a little bit. There has to be some training before you do management, okay? So get some training in on the dog so he knows the basic commands, or she knows the basic commands, all right? And you have a way to hold them accountable. Once you have this is like the foundation. Once you have this, then you can learn how to start using that to manage your household and to manage your days so that it's nice and smooth and we're not bumping into messes to clean up every day or every hour, okay? Because that's how it could be. And also, you got to keep in mind that when we're talking about kids, we're going to make a distinction between the infant and the toddler and up to like the age 10. Okay, so like infants, it's going to be a little easier, okay? Because where you put that infant, they're staying. That's easy. I'm going to start covering like when you have a toddler, the age 2 and up, okay? 2 to 5, we'll say, and then 5 to 10 kind of stuff. You need to make sure, we're talking about a 2-year-old here, you need to make sure that you also can say no to the 2-year-old and redirect them, which is possible, or 3-year-old, or 4-year-old, or 5-year-old, or 6-year-old. You get it, okay? This has to be done before we implement the management. Otherwise, when the management fails, you have no way to get back on the rails, okay? You're done. So we need to make sure we put that in first. That's training, that's relationship, that's the stuff we talk about all the time. Now we got that done, cool, awesome. How do we manage? It comes down to this. 2 things we need in order to be a good manager of the house or a leader, right? We're gonna need structure. And that's another one of those words. You hear about structure. And when I heard that, I said, that makes sense, structure, right. What does that mean? What does it look like? This is what structure is. Are you listening? The rules. Okay? So your structure is the rules and the boundaries. Okay? That's what structure is. So, for example, the rule is when we're in the living room watching TV, you're on the place bed. That's structure. Okay? For a kid, The rule is when you're in the classroom, you sit in your seat. That's structure. The rule is when the bell rings, you go to the next classroom, right? The rule is to the dog, when I say come, you come to me. You see what I mean? These are rules. This is structure. This keeps them in line, okay? You're taking the animal and you're telling them how to live their day. Yes, it becomes easier as the dog adjusts or the kid adjusts. So structure. We need to find out in our day, your day is going to look different than mine. You have a different occupation. You probably wake up at a different time. You know what I mean? You have these commands and you have good kennel behavior, so you can make sure that your dog, I'm assuming you know that the dog's kennel trained and that you can put it in that kennel when you don't want to do the management, okay? Management, of course, the kennel is part of the management, but supervised management is going to be anytime out of that kennel. So you got to remember that you do have to have kennel training, because you're going to want to put that dog in the kennel probably overnight if it's a nuisance. Definitely overnight, and maybe parts of the day, just so you don't have to worry about baby dog, baby dog, baby dog. You're allowed to do that, and believe me, having a baby around is enough already. There's definitely times throughout the day that we will put riggins even away just so we don't have to monitor. So let's keep this in mind. We'll keep it realistic. But when you're out, you have the structure, okay? These are the rules. These are the beats throughout the day. What do we do in the morning? What do we do in this event? Eliminating that free roam, because there is no free roam. But if your dog's going to have playtime, that's in the schedule, right? Or that's within the rhythm of the day, so they can go and have their fun. I'm not saying that it has to be structured all day, but it starts when you say it starts, and it stops when you say it stops, and then it's back to that structure. What do we do next? And if that means kennel for the pup for a few hours, that means kennel for the pup for the few hours, even in the midday. But that's what structure is. Now, this sounds great, I know. And like I said, when someone first told me this, I'm like, that does sound great. I can tell my dog to do this. For example, I can say, dog, go on the place bed. Okay, don't move. Kid, don't go near the dog on the place bed. And that's management. And that works. It works, right? But you got to be watching it and all that jazz. But then the question dawns on you, well, what if my dog doesn't stay on the bed? What if my dog doesn't listen to the structure? Okay, so then that's where the consequences come in. So structure, which is the rules. If the dog stays within the structure without fighting, we're good. But we're also good managers and good leaders of the system, because we know that if they break one of the rules, we've already got a proper consequence that works and that the dog understands, so therefore they're in line. But if they do mess up, you're right there to give that correction and get them back on the rails, right? So that's how we get through our day. If we don't have that, now if we have a hiccup in our system here, right, where it's like, well, I try to correct my dog, but he doesn't listen. You seeing where everyone's struggling, right? Well, this dog's not ready to be out in the same room as your kid, right? If you can't say one word and stop your dog, then it's not time. It's not time. I'm imagining you've already got there, and you're just people. I'm talking to a person. I'm pretending I'm talking to a person who's ready to learn how to use this stuff, management. And to use the training as management, how to apply the structure, and then how to apply the corrections for keeping the structure, okay? Because that's what it's all about when it comes to dogs and kids. And that's what we're talking about today, in case you just joined in. Dogs and kids was the question we got out of many. We got so many questions that we're going to have to do a live show together tomorrow night, hopefully, tomorrow morning, hopefully, with Julie, so that we can go through some of these questions, because I can't, it's overwhelming for me. So back to dogs and kids. Quick overview. Management. Boom. Now we know what management is. It's structure, and then also proper consequences for breaking the structure. What's structure? Structure is the rules, the boundaries. Okay, that's all it is, just like I explained to you. For breaking those rules and boundaries, there is a proper consequence that is effective. So therefore, the dog does not break. And when they do, it's easily remedied. Okay? Same thing goes for the kid. Same thing goes for the kid. Okay? So the kid has to be able to be a little bit under control. Otherwise, it's going to run right at that dog. You know what I mean? You got to be able to say, you got to be able to do this with your kid too, just like your dog. And if you can't do it with both, then you can't have them both in the same room. I mean, you can, but the likelihood of things going wrong is higher. So I'm recommending that if you don't have them both under control, under your management, under your leadership, and consequences that work to keep them in line, then putting them in the same room is going to leave a little bit too many holes for me to feel comfortable to turn my back for a second. You know what I mean? To blink. I don't want to blink, right? So, but it's not that bad. It depends on the dog you got, and it depends on the kid you got, right? Now, how about when they can spend time together? Because that's what everybody wants to talk about, right? All right. So this depends on the dog. This depends on the child, and it also depends on the age. Okay. So for me, Jesse's 2. He doesn't have many interactions with Riggins. Okay. When they do happen, we have family time, right? That's what I guess it would be identified as. We're just all hanging out, right? They're both in the same room. And what we do is we allow Riggins to be out of a command, and we're obviously not putting Jesse in a command. But the rule is that they don't, like Jesse doesn't touch the dog, and the dog just kind of knows that Jesse's not for him to get too close to or anything. Although they have had what happens is it happens organically, and then I monitor it. And I don't let it hang on. I don't let it go on too long, just like a dog with an aggressive dog. And so he's had his chance to sniff Jesse, and Jesse has had his chance to kind of giggle and play with Riggins a little bit, like react to Riggins more likely, not really touching him, but just reacting to Riggins being funny to him. So they've had, plenty of these little moments, but they happen in that family time where it's being monitored, and we're looking for that stuff, right? Excuse me. So. But other than those moments, they're not interacting. They're not free roaming at the same time. You know what I mean? I don't have them I'm not doing the dishes and then the dog and the kid are just running around in the same room. That's not what I'm doing. I'm either putting my baby in his bedroom and maybe I'll put the baby in the bedroom and the dog on place just to give myself a mental break. But one or the other is having free roam, and it's usually the kid, right? So Riggins is going to go on plays, all right? And even then, that can become stressful, because what if I'm not paying attention to Jesse enough and he goes up on the dog? So what we often do is that's a great time to just put the dog away, right? So that's what I do. That's what I'll do if I don't want to worry about that. If Julie's in the other room, I'll have the dog going with her, and she'll be watching the dog, and I'll be watching the kid, and we can flop, and we do flop it like that. And so anyway, that's what it's like. That's what it is. So that's when it comes to supervised time, when the kid's older, there's something I want to talk about, and it's a really special topic because it happened to me, and I remember when it happened to me. There comes a point in time when your kid gets to a certain age and has a certain level of maturity where they can become the leader. They can become a leader to the dogs too, and they don't necessarily need the adults to step in every time. They can handle it. And so what does that look like? Every kid's probably a little different, but I know for me personally, I started being able to do that around like 10, 11, a little bit, just a little. But then I would say definitely by the time I was 13, 14, absolutely could just handle a dog. But you got to watch your kid's temperament, and you got to know they know what to do. So I would start with it being the commands. I would start with teaching your kid how to give the dog commands supervised. And it's just like going through the training. It's just her or him learning how to disagree with the dog and then direct the dog, right? And then when to release the dog and play a little bit, and how to get control, like just the same stuff you know. Now, this is with or without the e-collar. I'm not considering the e-collar here. In my mind, I'm thinking just, just interactions with the dog, maybe a leash or something. And maybe the e-collar's on, but you're not giving it to that kid, right? You got to be smart, right? So it's all about how the dog views the kid. So you start getting the dog to realize that the kid can lead. And there are corrections involved probably where you might be operating the remote if the dog's well trained and it isn't a past risk for biting or anything. Obviously, this is separate, right? And you just like a go home would go, you teach the dog to follow the kid, and then the kid starts to gain respect. And now you're going to have to watch that development. You're not going to just say, okay, now the kid's, you're going to watch him for a while and you're going to monitor for a while. until you feel like they can handle certain things with a dog. Maybe they can handle letting it out to the yard by themselves, or maybe they can handle a walk around the block. Maybe they can't. But that's what it's about, is being able to teach our kids at that point. Because when a kid will become old enough to be able to lead a dog and confident enough, and once they are, you train them up right. We need more of them, okay? So that's it with dogs and kids. It's not too exciting, but let me tell you something. It can be very, very bad very quickly if you are letting. Let me tell you about the do nots, okay? Because all of this, I'm sure you listened to all my notes here, and you said, wow, that sounds like pretty bulletproof, like it should work. Yes, it should work. But if your dog doesn't listen to you, like doesn't take you seriously, it's going to make it real wonky. All of a sudden, that's not going to be such a stable system. Okay, same as if your kid. So you see what I'm getting to. Relationship with each individual, with the kid and the dog is gonna be what's helping you get through the day. It's all about relationship, I'm telling you. Okay, now here we go. Here's the question from Julie here. Why would a dog nip at a kid? That's the hot stuff. She knows how to keep it hot. So everybody sees the photos. The most common reason a dog's biting a kid is because the dog's correcting a kid. They're not trying to kill the kid. They're just correcting a kid like they would one of their own youngins, right? So if a kid starts touching on a dog, this is the most common. And a dog's kind of getting annoyed, but he's not really showing really obvious symptoms of annoyance like growling or anything like that. It's just kind of putting up with the kid. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I've had enough. And it corrects the kid like it would a puppy. You just say, knock it off. But the thing is that a kid has very soft skin, or a young, even 2-3-year-old, you see this. They have very soft skin. So that bone is going to go right through. It's going to go right through. And then people get confused. And they say, well, I thought they loved each other. And it's like, you just made a boo-boo. You put human emotions in the dog, and you've been doing it since the day you got it. And now you think it's something it's not. You got to remember it's a predator. You got to remember it's a canine. You got to remember to remind yourself it's not a Disney movie. All right? The dog is not an evil dog who no longer likes the kid. In fact, you're confused even more when he goes over and licks the kid afterwards because the scenario's over, because he's a dog. So, a lot of the times that's what it is. Go look it up on YouTube. You'll see exactly what I just showed you. The dog's putting up with it, and then there'll be a moment where you can see, oh, that dog's uncomfortable, and the people will still encourage the kid to be on the dog, like, oh, look at that, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, wham. Because the dog doesn't want to bite this kid, obviously, but he wants to correct it. And nature knows, and a dog is nature. Nature knows to stop a behavior. You correct, you punish. And so the dog punished the kid so that it would learn not to do that to it again. It was developing a relationship so that in the future the kid would learn not to touch it like that, just like it would one of its own. People projecting human emotions and humans' way of thinking onto a dog is dangerous. It's dangerous, and it's not accurate. It's not accurate at all, okay? That's why these people say it came out of nowhere. It never comes out of nowhere, okay? It never does. Thank you for this topic, because I have 2 kids. Bless you. Like, I have one, and I understand. It's not easy. Okay, so what if it's not annoyance? I see with my dog him trying to play with my son like he does with other dogs. I'm glad you brought this up, Amber. There is more than one reason. So that's the most common one you're going to see on the web. It's usually a dog lying down and a kid crawling on it. If a dog, and another thing, Amber, if you could tell me your dog's age as well, maybe even breed, that'd be cool. I know I like to know if it's a puppy thing or if it's an adult thing. You know, it does make a difference. So, but anyway, so there's boundaries. There's the dog. If a dog plays with another dog, and it's a puppy playing with an adult dog, so 15 months. Okay, so there you go. we got a young dog playing with another dog who is balanced, so they're not going to just like try to kill this dog. They're balanced, but they're also confident, okay? And he's a Shepherd Lab, okay? That's their best guess. So he's 15 months. So let's say the Shepherd Lab's playing with a big Mastiff, just to let you know, just so you know, and it's obvious to both dogs, hopefully, who's who's the tougher dog, right? This dog, this Mastiff, is very balanced, so he's not going to be over the top aggressive to this dog when it wants to tell him to stop, right? He's balanced. He might take it a little bit. Maybe they even have a relationship, so they're tolerant. And what will happen if you have this setup is you'll see that this dog's playing. They want to play. They're young. They want to run around. They want to nip at your heels. They want to do all this stuff. And he's just kind of trying to get a reaction out of the big dog. The big dog's not really giving him time of day. So, maybe the big dog breaks down and starts playing with him a little bit. You see that. They might play with him a little bit. I see it from rigging from time to time. They start playing. As soon as that dog passes a line and is disrespectful and maybe bites a little too hard or something like this, that bigger dog will correct. It'll correct, and there might even be a yelp involved. You might just give a little snap and a growl, and you might see the shepherd go, and kind of walk away, wait a second, and then go back and try again, knowing that it's just because I just did something he didn't like. And you can see them start playing again, but you can also see that the shepherd's more respectful, and he will learn those respectful, and the energy's down too, those respectful way of playing. There's never a correction by the dog. It's only when you go to a certain level of elevation, and a certain level of dominance, and a certain level of annoyance, right? Okay, so why does this apply to you? Because your 15-month-old is playing with your kid, and and the kid or whoever is not telling him when enough is enough. Okay, so I'm going to get to these comments too in a second. But like a dog will do that to me too if it doesn't know me. A 15-month-old, if I start acting like a goof, it's going to start playing, and it's going to start playing a little rough. So that's when you have to teach your dog how to play, and I should say also, okay, let me get back to this. Okay, so is he biting your kid, or is he just mouthing hard? He's probably just mouthing hard and grabbing onto the shirts and shit like this. A correction takes care of that. That's when it's supposed to happen, because that's fun for the dog. So the kid's not a toy. The best way is if the kid stands up for himself and then the parents back the kids up. But I don't know the age of the kid, and I don't know the temperament of the kid, and some kids just don't have it in them. But yeah, that dog needs to just be corrected, and then offered to go back to play, and then corrected, and then offered to go back to play until it learns how to play without doing the annoying things, right? If the dog, there's different situations. If the dog is kind of a nervous dog but likes to play, but then all of a sudden kind of gets itself where it's uncomfortable and snaps at the kid, these are all different avenues. The most common one is, I would say, the dog trying to relax and the kid annoying it. That's the most common one. The other one is probably a puppy or a young dog playing with kids and getting too rough, right? Getting too rough. So that's why it's all about our relationship. Let me make sure I can get that back down. That's why we need to make sure that if we say, hey, knock it off, they stop. And if I say, hey, relax, like do that a little bit less intense, they listen. Okay? All right? So that's what it's all about with dogs and kids. It's management. And like I said in the beginning of this, I don't want to get too off track. Like I said in the beginning of this, it's about management, and it's about applying structure, which is the rules. That's not where you're going to struggle. It is if you're not organized in your life at all. Yeah, and you don't have any discipline. But where you're going to struggle, just like you can see with the comments, is like, what about the proper consequences part? Because you need to be able to add structure and the proper consequences because of the nonsense. That proper consequences part, that gets rid of the nonsense and keeps the kids in their desks at school. It keeps them going from one class to the next class. This is how this is working. This is working because there's punishments for not doing so. That's fine, that's working. And there's rewards for doing great. That's why it's working. So within your structure of your day, of your home, of your life, which is different than mine, right? You make sure you're telling your dog what to be doing in each event. And if one of the events is playing with the kids, it needs to be monitored so you can show the dog how. What's happening here, and I'm not trying to pick on the lady on here, what's happening is you're just letting them both go into the room and praying for the best. And then it gets out of hand, and then you're like, wow, it gets out of hand, and then that's where it ends. You just say it gets out of hand. That's your time. That's your time to go in and say, that's wrong, calm down, let's try again. That's wrong, calm down. And by telling the dog what's wrong, they'll stop doing the wrong part, but they'll do everything else. But you can't just take the dog away from the situation. They don't learn anything. They don't learn anything. You let them back in the room, they're going to do it again. We can't, I think the big thing here, the big danger against dogs and kids is when people treat dogs like people. You know what I mean? What is that called? Anthropomorphism or something like that? There's a name for it. There's a word for it, a scientific word. If you guys are smart, put it in the comments what that word is, and I'll try to read it. And it pretty much means you project onto your dog human emotions and stuff. So you think they want to be hugged and all this stuff, but you know nothing about an actual dog and their body language, and it's bad. And that's what gets kids bit. You know, that's just what happens. People not understanding dogs. And you know what? If you don't understand dogs, that's just because you're consuming the wrong content. It's out there. You have a phone right now you're watching me on. If you're watching this, you could look up all the information you want about dog behavior and actually understand a dog. But that's not as fun. And I understand life sucks, so we want our dogs to be, you know, goofballs who are a little out of control. I know there's a lot of people that like that. They like the dog to be just a little bad because it's funny. That's why people get bulldogs, and that's why people get Frenchies, because they're always a little bad, but they're freaking hilarious, and they're manic, but they're freaking funny. And I get it, because I get these dogs to come board with me, and if I'm in a bad mood or if I'm just in a blah mood, I open up the door to see these Frenchies and these bulldogs making these funny noises, doing these funny ass things that I never see dogs do. And they can be a pain in the ass, but they fill your cup. So it's like, if you have that going on, the dog's not really as likely to listen to you, although it's filling your cup. And it can be a lot more likely that things go hectic when you put a kid in the room. So you got to run a tight ship. You got to at least know how to run a tight ship. It doesn't mean it's got to be ran like that 24/7, but you got to be able to snap your fingers and say, hey, everybody listen. Let's do this structure thing right now and calm this environment down, because this is a dangerous one that you two are creating, right? So the older kids, they got to be able to be controlled too. Hey, it's not just one or the other's fault, right? Like, okay, puppy, don't do that. But kid, what are you doing that can improve the situation? Why are you letting them do this to you? Now, if you want to play with the dog, you're going to play with them right. Okay? Let's get it like a productive game here or something. What are we doing? We're just tugging on each other? What is this, right? And if it's not the kid's fault, and the kid's literally just the innocent bystander, then it's like, oh, then it's punishment for the pup. Don't touch the kid. The kid didn't ask for it. If the kid's not asking to play, don't go up on him. And you can set these boundaries and rules today, reinforce them for a couple days, and you've got change, baby. You've got change. But we don't do it, because in that moment where the dog's teachable, because you can't talk to a dog about something unless they're doing it, okay? So your only chance to tell your dog you don't like it is when he's doing it. So when he's doing it is your chance to stop it. And you don't do it by scolding him verbally. You watch some dog whisper and stuff and learn how to do it. Get a bonker. Watch it on YouTube how to get a rolled up towel with some rubber bands and give your dog a bop on the snout for things he doesn't like. Figure out how to punish your dog. Tell it that that's a stupid behavior and don't do it again. And he will stop. He will stop. And you know what? Your kid won't be scratched up. So, but you know what? You knew that already. Parents know this stuff. They know it. It's in them. Especially if there's two of you and you don't leave each other, you can figure this shit out for the most part, but you're busy. And I know I said this on the last one. I think the big thing is why people aren't dealing with their stuff is because their lives are freaking hectic. I think that's what it is, really. It's like the dog comes last because we got work, we got this, we got that, we got the kids, we got social life, we got the house is needing repairs. It's like there's always something freaking going on that it's like, yeah, Josh, this all sounds great, but where the hell am I going to find the energy, let alone the time? And I get it. I can't help you with that one. I can by hopefully getting your head on straight and learning that family and dogs are part of that family are are the most valuable thing we have, and that is where we should be putting our energy and attention, sometimes probably even more than our careers. You know what I mean? So just a little something to leave you on. Dogs and kids, you gotta run a tight ship. Okay? You gotta manage that ship. Let me see if we got any questions here. We're doing good. We're right on time today, guys. I feel like I got it out, so now I can kind of go and just answer questions and have fun with y'all. So if you got to go, the message is pretty much out. If you're ready to stick around for a little Q&A and interaction, we'll do this for a few more minutes. And who knows, while we do this on these things, sometimes tangents come up, you know. So we did the what if it's not annoying. Okay, we did that. And there's other reasons why dogs can bite kids too. They can do it over dominance and the resource guarding. I mean, it goes on, guys. It goes on. But if you're managing, you're not going to run into the problems because they're not going to run into each other without you being there. Happy Thursday, Josh. Glad you're talking about this. We have a baby on board coming soon. Awesome. Congratulations. That's so exciting. There's like getting a dog and having a baby are the most exciting things in the world, right? Hey guys, finally I can watch one until the next client comes, of course. Oh, you're busy. Day in the life. Let's see here. We got a couple more. This is Prince and Goji to a T. Yeah, you got your hands full with those two, but you're freaking killing it. You're killing it. Prince will absolutely correct him. Slight back up in Yelp and go right back to it, but calmer. That is wonderful. So basically, she's got two pit bulls, and one of the pit bulls gets over the top of the playing. The other one knows how to correct the dog without causing a fight, which is freaking awesome, by the way. Not that I love dogs correcting each other. I like the humans to be able to do it, of course, blah, blah, blah. But this is awesome. This is nature right here. And then the other dog respects it, takes it as a learning lesson, and then just goes back and starts playing so they can learn how do I play with this particular dog? What does he like and what he doesn't like? And what's the most impressive part is the dog who's doing the correcting. That's very impressive because he didn't get overly frustrated. He's given the kid a chance, right? He's not a grumpy old guy or a guy who's got, issues. He's balanced. He's balanced in the head, so therefore he can give a proper correction with it just being more of a conversation, and I love that. And the yelp will happen with or without contact, by the way, guys, and usually there isn't contact. It's just a strong warning, but sometimes they'll put their teeth on. Like it looks like they're biting them, but the dog knows they're not going in for a face ripper. They're just kind of like they're just kind of just touching the teeth on the dog's snout to say, hey, I'm here. Don't do that. And that's the same way that we use our hands, right? In dog whispering techniques. That's the same stuff. That's our bite. And then we want to take it a step further in the 21st century, right? So we want to get that e-collar taking over our touch so we can do it up to a half a mile away. Okay? Yeah. So awesome. Oh, thank you very much. Okay. That's it. We did it. Thank you for joining, guys. Again, tomorrow's going to be a special one. Tomorrow at 8 a.m.-ish, because we're going to have Julian on this, and she's going to be answering questions, and it's going to be more rapid fire. I'm going to still give my time to each answer, but I'm not going to be able to do this, which is like a long answer, which people seem to be liking. So we're going to keep this format, but tomorrow, because we got so many responses, it's Friday, let's do something fun. Let's try to get some quicker stuff going on. Thank you so much. I know your name, Prince and Goji's owner, and I feel terrible that I can't remember it, but Julie tells me all the time how awesome you're doing with them. So thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow morning, catch us live. Julie's going to be here. We're going to have a bunch of questions to go through. I mean, quite a few. And then, of course, if you got little questions, tomorrow's the day to do it. Okay? I'll see you guys then. Thanks for joining.